Hello, my name is Morgan. I am here to share my story, my journey. I hope that can impact you in your journey as a man. Big part of this journey has to do with wearing a mask, which I did for a big portion of my life. And I feel the most profound moment where that was the case was during my marriage. Showing up in a way that was not my authentic self with my ex-wife, creating so many barriers between her and myself, and creating a falsehood that I just couldn't, that couldn't persist, that I couldn't maintain. That lasted for several years. Then there was a divorce. And through that process, I realized how fruitless it was to wear that mask and how much pain that caused myself and caused her. I realized what I could do once I took off that mask, how I was able to see myself, understand myself, know myself, love myself, and just how much easier life became once I did that. The journey continues, right? It's still a process of seeing when that mask shows up, when it appears, why I still feel the need to wear it at times. But it's become much more evident to me. Now when the mask shows up, it's easier to see it and easier to step away from it. And I think a lot of us as men have a challenge where we don't even necessarily see the mask or know why it's there or know the pain that it's causing. So yeah, I just want to share what I've learned through this process and where I am now and where I hope to continue to go. I love to show you a way to peace and clarity and love and connection. The foundation is self-love, right? So if you can look at yourself and see yourself for who you are and love that, love the good, love the bad, and then work through that as well, right? Because if you can't see yourself, you're not able to really work on the things that need the healing. If I can help you to see those things within yourself and help you grow as a person and be peaceful, content and happy and joyful, and ultimately connect with others, right? Connect with your partner, connect with your family, because they want to see you as well. You may not think they do, but they want to see you and your true authenticity, right? Because connection is everything in those relationships. So, yeah. I think most men wear a mask, right? And many times in our life. And I think if I were to define that, it's a shield, but maybe a false shield. It's a way to protect ourselves and a way to make sure that the world sees us the way that we want them to see us, right? So when you wear a mask, you're essentially showing up in a way that you feel is better for everybody else, but maybe isn't great for you, right? So it's the best version of you that you want to give others, but you may not give yourself. And we wear a mask to show up in a way that we feel the world wants us to show up. Whether it's work, whether it's family, whether it's friends, partners, we often feel pressure to put on an image that says, hey, this is who we are, and this is how you want you to accept us, right? Instead of accepting ourselves and then showing up in whatever way that is, right? Whatever the way we accept ourselves. So it's a way for us to show up where we want to feel accepted. That's why we wear the mask. The more we wear the mask, the more often we wear it, the more we lose ourselves, the more we become exhausted, quite frankly. So ultimately, we want to take that mask off because it just releases some of that angst, some of that exhaustion. When we take that mask off, not only do we get a sense of relief, ultimately, we also get to know ourselves. We get to know who we are, right? We get to love ourselves at the core, right? Despite what we think the world wants to see from us. So by taking that mask off, it's essentially freedom. Right? We basically replace what we feel as protection and fear with ultimate freedom. That's the greatest gift that we can give ourselves. As men, when we wear our mask with our partners, oftentimes we are mirroring their behavior and maybe giving them what we feel they may need, right? And we feel that if we don't do that, they may not love us, right? So for example, for a lot of men, we feel that maybe we fall short of what our partners expect from us. So if we sense that, if we feel vulnerable or we feel that we are not as strong as we want to be in a moment, we still may show up in a way that is almost a false bravado. That's the strength that we don't actually possess. And it comes across sometimes with anger or with angst or with some sort of unnecessary tension. And so by removing the mask in those moments and sharing with our loved ones, I'm having a hard time right now. Like this is what I'm struggling with. They can love us at a deeper level. They can see that vulnerability and realize that we trust and love them enough to show them who we really are, which can strengthen that connection. I think anybody who wants to love us wants to see us because they can't love us without seeing us. And women are smart. Right? They see the mask, so they know exactly what the mask is. And I think one of the greatest things we can give them as well to show them who we are. Because if they can't see who we are, they can't feel safe. with us because women can see the mask. It's very apparent to them when we show up in an energy that doesn't align with who we are. They oftentimes want to create space for us to remove that mask because they want to see the core identity. They want to see what brings us joy. They want to understand what makes us happy because they want to, they're providers. They want to provide that for us, right? In their most feminine, in their most nurturing way. When we take off that mask and they can see who we are, they can understand what causes us pain, understand our soft spots, and provide the resources, the tools to help nurture those soft spots. Because that they want to heal us. Like that's how they operate. I think when we remove that mask, we give our partners the opportunity to bring out the better version of ourselves. That's a really important benefit of taking off the mask. Taking off the mask is very important when it comes to intimate relationships, right? Because I think those are some of the deepest relationships. But even if we're not involved in some sort of intimacy with a partner, it still is very important. I think one thing I learned through my divorce is that I had been wearing the mask in so many different ways, so many different capacities, so many different interactions. And so with my friends, with my mom, with work colleagues, nobody really knew who I was. I didn't know who I was. So when you take off that mask and you spend time with yourself, I think that's a lot of what it is. You truly spend time with yourself. Because a lot of, you don't do that as a man oftentimes, right? Because there's so many other things happening in life. So when you pause and take off that mask and become intimate with yourself, let's say, right? And say, okay, this is who I am. This is why I respond this way in these situations. This is what I truly do like, what I truly don't like about myself, about the world. Then you become just more at ease. Like all the things that maybe felt uncomfortable are just part of life and part of you, right? So by not feeling the need to show up in a certain way because of the mask, you become more confident in how you show up. And the friends that are your friends are going to accept that. Your mom is going to accept that. People who love you are going to accept that. And you're going to accept that, I think, ultimately, right? So I think by taking off this mask, you may show up, it'll be uncomfortable because it's new, I feel. But you become, the more familiar you become with anything, the more confident you become. Like, it's like the more you practice anything, it becomes a habit and you're like, all right, this is easy now. The more you practice knowing yourself, that becomes habitual. Like, all right, this is easy now. It's easier for me to show up in the world the way that I want to, right? And the world will accept me or it won't. And that's okay either way, right? And then the mask is no longer needed to protect yourself because you don't need protection from the world at that point. And it's tough, removing the mask is not an easy process. Like I said, it takes time, it takes patience, and I think it takes a lot of deliberate action. Oftentimes as men, or as a man, you may move through the world in a way where your entire day consists of some sort of activity, right? Whether it's for work, for play, with friends, whatever the case may be. And so the world has almost normalized you always being productive, right? So the notion of pausing, spending time not being productive it's actually criticized in a lot of society. It's important for you as a man to dismiss that criticism and what you may see as criticism and spend time daily, right? And it doesn't matter how much time, I don't think, but spend time daily just with yourself, with no stimulations, and just being in your own presence. Because when you're in your own presence, you don't need the mask. When you're with yourself, you don't need the mask. And in those moments, reflect on what happened during the day, during the week, whatever the case may be, and say, okay, these are the things that I liked about how I showed up. These are the instances where I felt I need to wear the mask most often, right? And this is where I felt most at peace. The more you identify differences between where you need to wear the mask and where you feel okay, the easier it is to take that mask off, right? And to just every day follow that same process, so to speak, right? Where you're taking the mask off and you're essentially getting to know you. That's truly what it is. I think as a man, you can do a really good job at times understanding other people and knowing who they are. Follow that same process. And I think a lot of that process stems from curiosity about yourself and just saying, hey, I've assumed this thing about myself, whatever it may be, for all these years. Like that this is who I am. But is that truly who I am, right? And if it is, why am I that way? I think there's a level of curiosity that is critical to attain if you're going to take off the mask and know who you are underneath that mask. The more often you get into the habit of taking off the mask, the more you self-reflect, right? Over and over again. Every time you take off the mask, it's a chance to look at yourself, which is reflection, right? You're looking at what's happening in that mirror, right? Self-awareness, I feel, though, is at a deeper level. We can't become aware of something until we see it repeatedly and we get to know it intimately. The more we reflect on anything, the more aware we become of it. Let's say that at work, for example, you're struggling with a boss, but maybe you're not really sure why. You kind of maybe just dismiss that boss as being somebody you just don't enjoy, somebody who you don't interact well with. But I think for the most part, people who show up in your life who you have a difficult time with, they're a reflection of something that's going on within you, right? So if you reflect on that interaction and what you're feeling, right, what's happening, you understand that reaction in the moment and what's happening in that moment and why that boss is creating that energy within you. Right? So, so you do it on a daily basis, you have that reflection. Over time, over multiple periods of reflection, you become aware of not only your interaction with that boss, but why on a grander scale, you may feel that way with other people as well. Because it's not just about the boss, it's about what is happening for you. And on a deeper level, what that means about what pains you with those kinds of interactions, right? So I think that there's a difference between self-reflection and self-awareness is those moments that cause you pain versus the overall message of what that pain is saying to you. We need to make that distinction because if we focus only on the reflection, it'll be beneficial, right? It'll help us in that moment, in those interactions on the individual level. But I don't think it'll help us as much with understanding ourselves and why we respond the way we do, not only in that interaction, but other interactions that inevitably will come up and make us feel that same way. So the journey to exploring the mask, removing the mask, and seeing what's behind the mask can be painful, especially as you move from self-reflection to self-awareness. There will be a lot of discomfort through that process, a lot of things that are new. With newness comes pain. Ultimately, it's worth the pain, right? But during the process, it can be very unsettling and very emotional. I encourage you to explore that journey because it is worth it once you reach that level of self-awareness. With that in mind, if you are ready to go on this journey, I encourage you to click the link below and see what I have to offer you in this exploration.